Hello. I know this is backwards. It says DJ Dr. Reggie B. But I wanted to put this on to start off with. I hope everybody is safe and doing all that you need to do to survive and keep your loved ones safe. So I'll take that off now. Welcome to Turning the Tables. So if you've been following me, you know I came up with Turning the Tables. Of course, we have the tables here, the turntables right here. But turning the tables is just an opportunity for me to talk and chat and maybe interview some folks. And so I just want to do that again with you. This week, I would like to talk about new school DJs. What gave me the idea of new school DJs was talking to a friend of mine, DJ Chris. And DJ Chris and I have been around for a long time. As well as several other DJs, and on their YouTube or their Facebook Live, they'll shout out to me, hey, DJ Dr. Reggie B. So I want to give shout out to a few of them. So I was talking to DJ Chris and I was talking to DJ Bob Ski, and both of them will be on and they'll interview in the future. But they gave me thoughts about new school, old school, Serato versus turntables. Even today, another DJ in Tennessee and I were talking, and he was saying, I wish that the new controllers had the abilities to have CDs also. I said, well, a lot of the folks are going digital and people are not buying CDs anymore. He said, well, if they come up with a controller like that, I would get that. And I said, well, they do have controllers out there. So that gave me the seed to think about the new school DJs. So let's just say this. Long time ago, we had a Victrola, and you turn it, and it played a cylinder, and you had music. And then some of the other Victrolas had a form of a record, vinyl. I'm not sure if it was quite 33 and a third. My history about that is not as strong as I would like for it to be. But it turned and it played music and it looked like an album. But it was kind of heavy. Though I do have a couple of those, and they were 33 and a third revolutions per minute. They're very heavy. And then we shifted, right? We started getting into 45s and 78s, 33s, 12 inches, and 8 tracks, cassette tapes, DAT machines, and CDs. I remember when the CD was as big as a record, and then they made a little compact, little tiny one, and then it settled in on that one size. And now we have what we have. We have digital. We have analog. We have digital now. We have Serato. You can walk in with a thumb drive and just start jamming. You can DJ with your phone. You can walk in with none of this equipment I have behind me. This may be bumping. Sorry about that. You may walk in with none of this equipment I have behind me. And next thing you know, DJ is rocking the party. So I just wanted to talk about new school, just a little bit. And I'm not a new school DJ, and I'm not going to claim to know a lot about the new school stuff, as well as what the new school DJs think about. But I will say that it's here. I mean, at one time, back in the 70s, I was a new school DJ probably. Compared to the DJs who were 30, 40, 50 years old, who had been doing this for a while, and they had their style, they wear their suit and tie to DJ, and all of the mirror balls and the lights and all of those types of things is all they had at that time. And as time moved on and technology and things like that progressed, there were other opportunities for the newer DJs to use different things. And young folks are always trying to outdo the older folks or do something different, not necessarily outdo, but they want to put their own footprint or thumbprint or stamp or mark on their generation, on their culture, on their time period. Just like the hip hop culture. That's a whole nother story. But the point is, we do now have new school DJs. Back in the day, we didn't even have a lot of female DJs. And partly is because a lot of equipment was heavy. So, they had to carry it a lot. And most of the females then weren't into carrying, 10 crates of records and a couple £1,000 worth of equipment by themselves. The other thing is that a lot of the DJs were in the hood, the barrio, the projects, gangster territory. And so as a DJ, you have to be willing to fight. Y'all have heard me say this before, but you gotta be willing to defend yourself and your equipment. And it's not make believe. you had to defend it, and you also had to project the image that if you touch my stuff, I'm gonna touch you. And unfortunately, a female going up against 3 or 4 guys who are dead set on stealing her turntables or amplifiers or a mixer or speakers or whatever, it's a challenge, and it's a safety factor. And so that was then. This is now. So new school DJs, and I'm gonna mention one particular female DJ, shortly. There are people who like her and people who say things about her. There's multiple camps about me, right? There are people who like me, and there are people who say other things about me. That's just life. That's just the way the world is. But at the same time, you do what you do, and as long as you're comfortable within your own self, I think that's important. And that's kind of what I want to lead with new school DJs. They feel good about what they're doing. They like what they're doing. They are having fun. They're jamming. They're rocking the party. They're coming up with all kinds of creative things. They are not DJing in a traditional manner that, I grew up in. But at the end of the day, they are making music or they're mixing music, and the folks are responding to it and having a good time. I would say that if you had an old traditional DJ and then a DJ like me that can do, various types of things, and then maybe a turntable instrumentalist, a Jazzy Jeff, and a maybe even a Grandmaster Flash, and then several new school DJs, and put us all in one club and gave us all, 15 minutes, everybody would rock the party. Everybody would get folks on the floor dancing. Everybody would have a good time. So if you compare old school versus new school, yeah, things are different. But at the end of the day, it comes down to those folks that are listening to the music and dancing and having a good time. And so I think that there is not only a lot of room for the new school DJs, I think they are pioneering many opportunities out there for newer school DJs. So I told you about Chris, DJ Chris. DJ Chris and I have known each other for many years. He's a white guy and he's a brother. And so y'all figured it out. But the point is, he can play music, any kind of music, anywhere, any club, any genre, you name it. You put a crowd out there and don't even tell him what he's showing up for, and he will turn it out. That's how good he is. He's been in this business for many, many years. I told him, I said, I started DJing in 1974. He said, I was born in 1974. I said, yeah, well, I still come to you for advice, Chris. And he right now has a class going on where he's teaching kids, literally kids. And it's Zoom, and it's like a camp or whatever he calls it. And, they pay a certain fee. And then they get this small, little, inexpensive mixer. He gives them a thumb drive with 4,000 songs on it. And then he has modules and classes, and he teaches them about DJing. This is the basics, nothing crazy. But they're learning about beats per minute. They're learning a little bit about mashups, mix-ups, mixing. And, they're just learning the fundamentals of DJ. And these are young folks, like, in their teens or, preteen. And which is good, because they will one day be 21, 31, 41. They may get the bug that they want to get out there and get their hustle on. They need some money. So they want to go make a few $100s, and they have a skill set. They're going to be able to take what he teaches them, build upon it, and go make some money. And who knows what that person, male or female, may end up doing 10 years from now. So that is the new school DJ that we don't even know what their craft will be when they get older. So let's take it back. So now we have a lot of DJs out there that are using, the pads for the cue points. And I'll be honest with you, as an old school DJ, that I can do a lot of things on these turntables and mix and scratch and spike and strike, and I'm learning how to crab, for those of you who know what that means, and flash. But what I can't do is do certain mixes as fast as you can with the cue points and the pads, or on Serato. It's impossible. Now, I used to do this thing called a pause button mix when I was younger, back in the early 80s, with a cassette machine. And you would just time it, and you time it, and you time it. Point is, it was a long process just to get 5 cue points to hit at the same time. Boom, 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 boom. It would take me maybe 20 minutes just to get that little piece. Now I can just do it in seconds, and anytime I want, with any record I want. So that's new school. And it creates a whole new audience. It creates a whole new sound that many of us may not even have heard before. It's like a new instrument. Or when Prince, did stuff with instruments that nobody ever heard before. The instruments were always there, but he pulled sounds out. Herbie Hancock did some things, just incredible things. Stevie Wonder, Roger Troutman, they just do incredible things with the equipment that they have. So perhaps had we had then what we have now, all of the DJs back then would be producing and creating and just having fun with different sounds that we didn't have back then. I mean, shoot, we had a closing play. We had component sets and receivers and, 2 receivers and 2 turntables, dissimilar turntables, and we just had to make it work. Now, all of the stuff they have now in the businesses and I don't even want to start naming some of the companies that make the equipment, that make different types of turntables, that make different type of mixers or speakers or amplifiers or preamps or even road racks, because then, you name one, you got to name them all, right? But we didn't have any of that. So to really compare us to old school to new school is like comparing a horse to my car. I could go to work on my horse and buggy, or I could go to work in my car. I could take and get to work 20 miles per hour with my horse, or however slow or fast they go, or I can get on the expressway and get to work. So it's really no comparison. But we do need to sometimes talk about old school, new school, because there's a lot of history in the old school. But then there's a lot of innovation in the new school. And that's where I think it can come together. You got some 18-year-olds, some 15-year-olds out there that can do some incredible things musically with their controllers. But they may not necessarily know the origin of how certain things happen on turntables. Give them that information and they may take their game up to a different level. Conversely, you take an old school DJ who has only DJ'd on turntables and has never DJ'd on a controller, and you match them up with a new school person who understands DJing. We speak our own language, it's our own culture, and they're able to communicate. And now the old school DJ is like, wait a minute, tell me that again. Yeah. All you gotta do is hit this button and set this up, cue this up. You can put certain things in, the pocket here, and I mean, you can queue up 40 songs and go through all of them in 5 minutes and mix it, and be like Kid Capri, right? Because Kid Capri did a lot of that stuff, and he did it manually. Kid Capri, I always talked about him. He could go through some records. He had a whole stack of records, right? Bam, bam, blah, 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 blah. And so, and he did it manually though. Now, there's a lot of DJs out here now that are, doing well. They're on YouTube. They got their own channel, and the music that they're creating is incredible. But Kid Capri did it manually. He didn't do it with all of the stuff. Now, of course, he keeps up with it, and a lot of the DJs that are famous and who've been out there, and this is what they do as their guild for their lifetime. They keep up with a lot of that, but they also remember when, and they still have that skill set to go back. I know they got some stuff in the closet with a little bit of dust on it, and new needles. They're gonna show you something. But that's the new school. That's the old school. I want to shift a little bit and talk about females. So we're going through a whole cultural shift right now, and many of us, I put myself in there as well, we grew up with what we knew and what we didn't know. We grew up with a paradigm or a thought process that at the time, that's all we knew. Years later, we find out I did this wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have treated this person that way. My attitude needs an adjustment, maybe still. And there's just a lot of discriminatory type mindsets that we were raised in. It was our culture, it was our environment, and we didn't know better. You think we should have known better because right is right, wrong is wrong, but we didn't. All our heroes were doing the same thing, so we wanted to be like them. I grew up in the Richard Allen projects, same projects Bill Cosby grew up in. So he was my hero, Aesop's Fable, and all of his records, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you think about it, the discrimination and the things that we did back then held a lot of people back. And basically it held a lot of females back. They had their place, so to speak. Hell, they probably would have been better than us if they were given the opportunity and not given the cold shoulder or the Heisman or just, the discriminatory type of things that we did to women back then, and just because we wanted it. We were on top, y'all. Y'all down, we up. Well, it's 2020, and women can do whatever they want to do. They have the capability, they have the knowledge, they have the information, they have the resources, they have the law, and so many other types of things that women didn't have back then, that equalizes the game. That if they want to be what they want to be, they're going to be what they want to be. And anybody that wants to stop them needs to think twice, because it's not going to happen anymore. And I'm proud of women for that achievement. And I'm proud of us just as a culture, when I say us DJs, to just recognize that talent is talent, no matter how you look at it. Talent is talent. If we had a 6-year-old prodigy on a piano at Carnegie Hall, just doing the Fifth Symphony, and did it so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn couldn't do it better, the whole world would be talking about it, and that person would be celebrated. And so there's so much talent out there for DJs, male, female, young, old. I'm 58. We need to embrace all of that as we transition culturally and just as a people, to recognize that if anybody is out there who really wants to DJ, the sky should be the limit. This craft right here was an underground hustle back in the day. Now it's an industry. Literally, it's an industry. You can be a professional DJ and feed your family and live off of this for the rest of your life. Literally. Who would ever thought, playing basketball you can live off of, right? No, it's an industry. It's part of the sports industry. DJing is there now, and it's going to keep going, and it's going to go higher and higher. So if there are females out there who really are interested in being a DJ, man, don't let nothing stop you. Nothing. I mentioned in one of the podcasts, a girlfriend of mine back in high school had an opportunity to be a DJ, and she didn't embrace it because I don't think that's what she wanted to do. She was a musician and she wanted to do other things. I wanted that. I wish I had had that opportunity. So therein lies was kind of like a reverse discrimination. I'm talking about how men had all the opportunities and females did not. In this case, female had the sky's the limit. They would have put her out there. She'd have been on radio and all that other stuff and clubs and everything, and been that DJ. Here I am, the boyfriend. Like what about me? So they didn't want me. So I know how you feel, and it's just sad. But it's 2020 now, going into 2021. The sky's the limit. Snatch it. Do what you want to do. I want to talk about the children too. So talk about new school DJs. Talked about female DJs, talked about old school versus new school, equipment, mindset, culture, environment, things like that. But if young folks are watching DJs, then they may start developing DJ heroes. So this is how cultures evolve, right? Once upon a time, there were rappers out there and they were doing what they needed to do, selling records from their trunk like MC Hammer and other folks having their cassette tapes with them and, getting them out there. And then all of a sudden, they go mainstream, not necessarily mainstream, but everybody knows about them. And they become heroes to a lot of young folks. And that can happen with DJs. It's probably happening now, but it's not happening on a global mass scale yet. But it's coming. It's coming. And so these young folks, and I say as young as 5, my grandson, we have a video, and I'm not going to show it, at least not yet. But my grandson, my son is also able to DJ. He's pretty good too. And you may have seen some of the stuff when he was out there. But my son is a DJ, and he just happened to have my grandson, his son, on the controller. And it was with Janet Jackson. It was like, I get so lonely. And he was scratching and brought it back and let it go, brought it back and let it go. And I think he was, I want to say 1.5 years old, barely able to walk, could stand, but he did that. Since then, he's been around this environment his entire life. He's been in the studio. And my son's always in a studio and DJing. So he's been around it his entire life. Right now, he's only 3 years old, maybe 3.5. March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, almost 3.5. And so imagine by the time he's 5 or 6 years old with, cognizant capabilities to understand the physiological capabilities so that he can do what he needs to do with hand-eye coordination and a little bit of instruction and coaching. And shucks, by the time he's 8 years old, it'd be like, Grandpa, watch this. Let me show you this. And he'll be looking at my turntables like, why are you carrying those heavy things? Let me pull out my cell phone. This is how we DJ. So they have their heroes. And if you're listening and you're a DJ, keep that in mind that you may be somebody's hero. They may catch you on, we have this social media now, so this platform was not around back in the day. Anybody that's a DJ can present, right? So keep that in mind that they may be, you may be their hero. And also, they may have several. So one, I don't call her a hero of mine, but one DJ I've been watching, and her name is DJ Lady Styles. So DJ Lady Styles is a hip hop DJ, and that's all she do. That's all she likes. That's all she lives for. Is just DJing. And I don't know how I stumbled across her on YouTube, but I don't see many female DJs when I'm looking at some of the content that's out there. And I saw her this one, and the first thing I saw was her hands, and I'm like, okay. So I'll let this play for a little while. Let me see what she's doing. And she had the rhythm and the beat that most DJs have. A lot of times we got it in our head. We have our own metronome going on when we listen to stuff. But she had her whole body into it. And it was constant. So it wasn't like it was a dance. It was like her body was the metronome and she was just doing it. And then her mixes, her cue points, her flashing, her strike, her crab, everything was kind of flawless. So I listened to a couple of more to see where her ear was, and it was there. I don't, and her nationality, I think she's Parisian. I think she's from France. I'm not sure. But the point is, she can DJ. And so, I looked at her controller and I looked at what she had, and I think she has a couple of them. But she can DJ. And you don't just wake up learning how to DJ and then you get that good that quick. You put time into this. You put the time into it. So I imagine she put the time into it. So now I'm watching her like, okay, she can do a lot of things that I can't do, but I've been DJing a whole lot longer than she has. I've probably been DJing twice the amount of years that she's been DJing, but she's better than I am at a lot of things. So I get to watch, and from a technical perspective, I'm paying attention to see what is it that she's doing that I can learn from. And I think, just in terms of the heroes that I was talking about, because she's kind of, I won't say my hero, but she's one of the people that I admire in her craft. You're being watched. All musicians and producers and DJs and artists, you're being watched. And people, when they see your skill set and see you do something that they like, sometimes incredible, they want to be like you, and then they'll start watching you. So now I'm not going to go down that whole judgment track, because I am not the person to, tell everybody be like me. No, there's so many things in my past and present that I've done that I probably wish I didn't do, or shouldn't have done, or knew better, or feel bad about, or regret some of them. Yeah, I would say no. You follow me. Follow yourself. Follow yourself. Pick up the few things that I do that you may like, and then keep moving. But you are being watched. So from that perspective, just keep that in mind. So anyway, this is DJ Dr. Reggie B, turning the turntables. This is actually episode 4. And I just wanted to talk about new school DJs, because I like new school DJs. I wish I was as good as some of them at what they do, especially the turntable instrumentalists. If you ever go get a chance to watch turntable instrumentalists battle, it is impressive. It's fun. It is fun to watch. I'm like, man, I wish I could do it the way they do it so I can get in there and compete. Because I have the ear. It's just I haven't put the time into the skill set of doing that. And there's a difference between turntable instrumentalists and DJs who do a club. Because turntable instrumentalists, they just hitting it. They can, Lady Style, she could DJ for 10 minutes and make you feel like you was there for a whole hour. So it's just different, and more things will evolve. But keep your eye on these new school DJs. Don't forget us old school DJs, and keep your eye out and your thought process for the industry and the business of DJing, because we're coming. We've been here a long time behind the scenes, but now it's time for DJs to go and take their due in front. So with that, I'll end on one other note. There are DJs out there that make over $50 million a year, and they're much younger than I am. So this is a way to feed your family. All right, DJ Dr. Reggie B, turntable instrumentalist. I'm not, but I am a DJ. And this is Turning the Turntables, episode 4. Thank you.